There's so much going on at the moment, and here's the troubling thing. It isn't simply a question of sifting out the important from the unimportant or the potentially devastating from the inconsequential. It's a question of making sure that we realize that most of what's happening in our country is by design important and potentially devastating to the future of our country. While we focus on the most obvious, the most dramatic, the most immediately consequential, a lot of things are getting overlooked. But somehow, Donald has decided that he and his regime of fascist thugs know more than the experts about art and the art and expertise behind creating museum exhibits, whether they feature history, scientific exploration, musical performance, or other arts. That's laughable, of course, but it's also, quite frankly, grotesque. We cannot pretend that Donald's interference in the ways our museums and other cultural institutions are run, along with his broader assault on the arts, aren't as important as all of the other horrors currently being committed. Indeed, I would argue that such interference is perhaps more important, at least as far as the long-term health of our society is concerned, than almost anything else we're currently facing. Therefore, we cannot let the assault on the arts get lost in Donald's deliberately created chaos. Personally, I find the incursion into our cultural institutions by the Trump regime, the undermining of cultural expertise, the censorship, the co-opting of the arts to the end of promoting an ideology that is antithetical to the arts, to be among the most serious threats we're facing as a people. The right has been planning everything that is currently unfolding for decades, which is in part why the erosion of our institutions and the degradation of the federal government's support of the arts has been happening at such an alarming rate. Also responsible for the seemingly sudden erosion is the fact that when there was an opportunity to do something, we did not do what needed to be done. We did not say tradition and norms aren't enough. Everything must be codified. We did not say if the courts are the only backstop against tyranny, we need to reform the courts, especially the Supreme Court. We did not say if the arts are the pinnacle of a culture, if the arts are the most valuable resource we have, if the arts define who we are as a people, they must be protected at all costs. We did not protect them. We did not defend them. We did not support artists in the way artists so desperately need to be supported. It should surprise none of us that once the fascist Republican Party gained complete control of the federal government, of all three branches of the federal government, as well as many state and local governments, that all of what has been keeping our very fragile and aspirational democracy in place would unravel at a rapid and terrifying pace. The Trump regime wants to review the exhibits at the Smithsonian museums, or as the sycophants Donald has put in charge of these reviews put it, the aim is, quote, to ensure alignment with Donald's directive to celebrate American exceptionalism, remove divisive or partisan narratives, and restore confidence in our shared cultural institutions, unquote. Indeed. Put another way, they plan to turn the Smithsonian museums into agencies of propaganda using revisionist history and a narrow and cynical and specious definition of art that they can wield as a weapon of that propaganda. This is an utter insult to and assault upon expertise. Sarah Weichsel, the executive director of the American Historical Association, said, quote, only historians and trained museum professionals are qualified to conduct such a review, which is intended to ensure historical accuracy. To suggest otherwise is an affront to the professional integrity of curators, historians, educators, and everyone involved in the creation of solid, evidence-based content, unquote. Museums are extraordinarily thoughtful and well-designed places where people go to learn, to steep themselves in other cultures, and to expose themselves to different ways of looking at the world. Vast amounts of expertise go into crafting and organizing every exhibit. The people who do this work are extremely well-trained experts in their fields. They are art historians, curators, and artists who care deeply about their missions and their crafts. The same could be said about those who, until recently, ran the Kennedy Center, a storied institution that has honored the likes of Ella Fitzgerald, Meryl Streep, Leonard Bernstein, Mavis Staples, and Johnny Cash. The new chairman of the board, however, is Donald Trump, a man with no taste and no discrimination, a man utterly bereft of any artistic impulse or understanding, who cares absolutely nothing for that which he falsely claims to be championing. John F. Kennedy once said, quote, "I look forward to an America which will not be afraid of grace and beauty, an America which will reward achievement in the arts as we reward achievement in business or statecraft," unquote. We have failed miserably to live up to that vision. And now we're seeing where that failure has led us. The idea that anybody, including Donald, thinks that he of all people has any business going anywhere near our cultural institutions, that he of all people has the right to interfere in our ability to learn about ourselves, our history, our art, and other cultures, is monstrous to me. We are continuing to acknowledge, on the one hand, that this is another in a long line of assaults upon expertise, which every day have a massive impact on the scientific and medical research that had been done on governance, on diplomacy, and on education. This is part of an overarching plan to weaken every single American institution, to alter every aspect of what it means to be an American, and indeed, a human being. On the other hand, the assault on our cultural institutions, and the arts in particular, carry a unique threat to our future. As a people who care about such things, we need to remind ourselves and each other that the arts are the most important mirror we have. They are a vital conduit into a deeper understanding of our society, our culture, ourselves. When we neglect the arts, when we fail to protect the arts and artists, we make it that much easier for the fascists to take over. So, we need to fight back in part by making the stakes explicitly clear, because the ways in which this matters so deeply may not be obvious to everybody. Above all, we need to make the case repeatedly that it is crucially important to protect the arts and artists at this very critical time in our history. All of the attacks on the Smithsonian museums, on the Kennedy Center, on the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and the National Institute for the Arts are occurring as artists and their work are being defunded by the federal government. Most importantly, we must remember in this moment that fascism kills community. Fascism kills democracy. It kills our sense of purpose. It kills intellectual freedom. And ultimately, fascism kills art. But here's the thing we must hang on to. Art kills fascism.
Please take a second and like and share this video. It'd be awesome if you could subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us in podcast form, please follow us and give the show a 5-star rating, because it really does help other people find our content. Thanks.